Greetings, wrestling fans, and we're back again with another All Wrestling review. Yes, I know I tend to do these once every few weeks. That's mainly because when you have a lot more wrestling to talk about, you gotta find the fine lines when you want to feel like you've watched enough and you can do a decent review. So in this video, I'm going to be going over a decent amount of shows. I'm going to be going over Monday Night Raw, if there was anything decent on the show I wanted to talk about, NXT, and even their pay-per-view, No Mercy, and the debut of a certain person that I'm definitely looking forward to talking about, and AEW, leading up to All Out. And also, one particular match that I on TNA that I was very happy that they actually did post, and I was able to watch it in its entirety. So let's talk about the TNA match first, since that was the first thing I kind of watched during this particular week, and that was Jordynne Grace defending her TNA Knockouts Championship against Ash by Elegance Dana Brooke for a second time in a match by Elegance. Yep, it was a Dana Brooke special no disqualification match, or an Ash by Elegance special no disqualification match. It's kind of ironic that her last match in WWE was a kendo stick match designed by Cora Jade, and now she takes that idea by turning it into a match by Elegance, by having her own versions of kendo sticks and tables and bins and stuff. The match itself was actually pretty decent. I actually thought the match itself was pretty fun, and also people have always, and I mean always, called out Dana Brooke or Ash by Elegance for never being much of a risk taker, not much of a bump taker, who doesn't take bumps. She sure as hell took a lot of fair share of bumps in this TNA matchup with Jordynne Grace. Kendo sticks, bins, chairs, and so much stuff. There was even diamonds in the match. Where Jordynne Grace pulled out a sack and dropped a bunch of diamonds on there. But overall, there was even quite a fair amount of interference, where a bunch of heel girls, again, don't really know much about these other girls on the roster, so there was a lot of interference from the heel side, trying to help out Dana Brooke, or Ash by Elegance, and then a babyface group of women came down to fend off the heels, and ultimately help out Jordynne Grace. And the ending of the match saw Jordynne Grace deliver her muscle buster. She went up to the top rope with Ash and delivered a muscle buster off the top rope through a table on the outside. But everyone said Ash by Elegance doesn't take brutal bumps, and she took a brutal one through a table while being in a position of a muscle buster, and that was ultimately enough for Miss Grace to retain. I was bummed out that Ash didn't win. I really wanted Ash by Elegance to win, because Jordynne Grace has been champion for a long time, and I really wanted a new champion. But it was a good match, so I can't complain all that much. And I also like Jordynne Grace. She's really grown on me over these last several years of seeing her matches on TNA. So, she's grown on me. So, we also head on over to Monday Night Raw. Not really a whole lot to really talk about when it comes to Raw, because, I don't know, just didn't really enjoy it. There was a tag match to determine the number one contenders for the tag team titles, where Unholy Union won by defeating Damage Control, and Io Sky ultimately got pinned, which definitely shocked me. I'll definitely say that was probably the more shocking thing that Io Sky got pinned, and also Zelina Vega made her return and freaking lose her return match. This is something I do not get. Why have someone return who wants revenge, but the person that's out for revenge just straight up loses? Zelina Vega was off for a few weeks selling an attack by Pure Fusion Collective, and she made her return to get revenge on them, and instead of giving her her revenge, you just have her lose. So she came back for vengeance, all for nothing. That's basically Triple H's logic. Triple H's logic is, well, she fought hard, but ultimately it was not enough. I'm sorry, she should be getting her revenge on Pure Fusion Collective. And the moment that I saw that she was facing Shayna Baszler, I ultimately knew she was going to lose. If she was facing Zoe Stark, maybe she could have had a chance. But ultimately, of course, that's not how things work in the land of WWE. If you want your revenge, you're gonna have to get it. You're gonna have to get it another way. Lyra Valkyria ultimately came out to help out Zelina, but even that was not enough. And Lyra Valkyria basically said that she has an idea, that she's got someone in mind, a tag team partner in mind, that could help them out against Pure Fusion Collective. And because they said they're going to be in Calgary next week, I rolled my eyes. I was like, really? Natalya? Natalya. Because, like, she basically said, we're going to be in Calgary next week, I have an idea. And I rolled my eyes, I was like, really? Natalya? Come on. Is Natalya the best you could think of? Friggin' Lyra Valkyria turned up on NXT to help out Tatum Paxley. And we'll get to that. And we'll get to NXT. Let's rewind back a little bit to NXT No Mercy. There's only one thing on NXT No Mercy I'm going to be talking about. And that is the debut of Giulia, the woman from Stardom / Mari Gold, the former New Japan Strong Women's Champion and multi-time champion across Stardom. Giulia making her WWE debut was fantastic. The only thing I didn't like is that Roxanne didn't show any fear. That's the only thing that I'm not the biggest fan of. Like, I know they want to make Roxanne look like a tough champion, but Roxanne had been talking shit about Giulia for weeks. Don't you think she should be showing a little bit of concern? But no, she just clutched her title and she rose her title up, still looking as serious as ever. I think Roxanne should have shown a little bit of concern, because she's been talking shit about these girls like Stephanie Vakula and Delta and Giulia. She's been talking shit about them, and now that they're slowly going to be debuting, she should be showing a little bit of concern, but she wasn't. That's my only complaint. And then let's fast forward to NXT. Tatum Paxley, had a match with TNA's Rosemary, and, time to time I tend to complain about I never see Tatum Paxley win, and lo and behold, my mind is blown, Tatum Paxley actually won a match. Holy shit! She actually won a match. One of the rarest things I ever see in my life is Tatum Paxley winning a match on NXT television. She ultimately gets attacked by Rosemary and Wendy Chu. I guess Rosemary is Wendy Chu's new friend. And Lyra Valkyria returns to NXT to help out Tatum Paxley. And Lyra Valkyria accepts Tatum Paxley, and they get and they have a hug. If there is one thing that really hurts my brain about Tatum Paxley, is that Shawn Michaels just cannot make up his mind what he wants to do with this woman. First, he makes her, she was a babyface. Let's go back to the beginning of the year. The beginning of the year, Tatum Paxley was a babyface when Lyra Valkyria was still in NXT as the champion. And then after Stand and Deliver, she turned heel. So 3 to 4 months later, she turned heel. 4 months later, she turned heel on Lyra Valkyria because she was going up to the main roster. and because she lost the championship. And so then from that point onwards, she kind of started going back and forth between face and heel every now and then. She tried to be friends with Lola Vice. That ultimately didn't work. She tried to be friends with Wendy Choo. That didn't work. She tried to be friends with certain other people. Her whole gimmick is that she just wants a friend. That is Tatum's whole gimmick. Her whole gimmick is, I just want a friend. Yeah, you had a friend in Lyra, but you backstabbed her. So what? So, and all that. But, it's weird. It's weird. Lyra, it is weird. Tatum's gimmick is weird to me. And to me, she just suits so much better as a heel than as a babyface. Does Tatum Paxley look like someone that looks likable? Don't get me wrong, I like Tatum Paxley, but if you think of her character-wise, does she look like someone to make you go, yeah, she's someone I would definitely want to cheer for? And if you're going to say yes, then they need to give her a character that makes her likable. Giving her a creepy character where she's just stalking so many girls just because she wants to be friends with someone doesn't really make her likable. That's all I'm trying to say. If you want to make her a likable character, not make her a creepy stalker stalking Lola Vice and many of the other baby faces. So that's all I'm trying to say. But ultimately, she thought she had a friend in Wendy Choo. Then Wendy Choo attacks her and turns on her, thusly turning Tatum Paxley a babyface after only being a heel for roughly 4 to 5 months, or maybe even less. So now she's a babyface again, reuniting with the woman she betrayed after Stand and Deliver. So now Lyra Valkyria just all of a sudden forgives Tatum Paxley after everything that she did to her the last time. You see, that's the other thing that I really do not like, is that whenever someone goes from face to heel, it's like, oh, you're a babyface now. You're all of a sudden friends with all the good guys. Oh, you're a heel. You're now friends with all the heels. Like, because you're a heel, you're friends with all the heels, but now you're a babyface, you're friends with all the babyfaces. Why do you think I actually like that Bianca Belair isn't immediately being friendly with Bayley? Why do you think I like that Bianca isn't friendly with Bayley, despite the fact they're both babyfaces? Because Bianca hasn't forgotten nor forgiven Bayley for the trauma she put her through years ago. That's the thing that I prefer. I much rather it where people actually, utilize their storylines better. Like, just because Bayley is a babyface doesn't mean Bianca should immediately be friends with her. That's what I didn't like when Becky turned babyface. That Bianca just immediately forgave her, even after all the crap that Becky put her through. Bianca should have what they did with Bianca with Bayley is what Bianca should have done with Becky. Becky had to earn the trust of everybody again. And that's what I like. I like it when people have to earn their redemption. And I feel like Tatum should have gone through that as well. Instead of Lyra just immediately forgiving her, Tatum should go through a redemption, proving herself to Lyra that she can be trustworthy. Lyra should have been like, hey, yes, I came to your aid, but I still haven't forgotten what you did to me. And then Tatum could have just gone through a redemption arc, showing Lyra proving to Lyra she can be trusted. I'd much rather that than just being like, hey, let's be friends again. I'd much rather that than just being all like, yay, let's be goody friends again. I just don't like it. So, Tatum's a face. She's now a face again, and that's the one thing I do not like. Shawn Michaels just cannot make his mind if he wants Tatum to be a babyface or if he wants Tatum to be a heel. I think it's time he needs to pick a side with her. Pick a side with her and stick with it. Is she a babyface or if she's a heel? Quit changing her after every few months. It will confuse your fans. It will confuse your fans, and it will confuse your fans because they don't know if they should cheer Tatum or if they should boot Tatum. The other thing that transpired on NXT that I want to talk about is Giulia. She made her debut on NXT, challenging Roxanne Perez to a match on the premiere episode of NXT on CW Network. Chelsea Green, for some random weird reason, was there, and she attacked Giulia, and Giulia gave her a massive knee strike. And this sent the entire internet on a frickin' hate train towards Giulia. I mean, come on. If you've never seen Giulia before, you should have no reason to comment on anything. If you've never watched Giulia in Stardom, you have no right to complain and comment. And I want to make this very clear to every single person who is now paying attention to Giulia and have never seen any of her matches in Stardom. You do not know and do not understand how dangerous Giulia can be. I've seen her matches in Stardom. I've watched her matches in Stardom. I know how brutally dangerous this woman can be. People complained about how soft her knee strike was on Chelsea Green, but those people that complain about it have never ever seen Giulia in a match before. If Giulia, you gotta understand, Stardom wrestler, look, Io Sky, Kairi, Asuka, they've all been there. They've all been a part of Stardom. They know the brutality. They know the brutal side. Even Shida, probably. She's probably wrestled in Stardom as well. But the point is that Japanese wrestlers go through a different style. And if you've seen that style before, you know what it's about. But if you've never, ever, ever watched a single match of this person, and you're gonna go ahead and complain about how she held back or the knee looked terrible, it shows you've never watched Giulia before. And that's what I have to say. People that complained about it have never watched Giulia in Stardom before. They've never seen any of her matches before. Please, 3 days in to her life in WWE, and people are already complaining about her. Go freaking figure. Go figure. Giulia needs to beat Roxanne for the title on the season premiere. That's really all I can really say. And then we get to AEW Dynamite. Well, let's get to AEW. On Collision, Shida became number 1 contender for the TBS Championship. And then on Dynamite, Shida and Mercedes were having a match at All Out. Christopher Daniels banned Camille from ringside, thus making the match a fair match. I find it hilarious that they have not mentioned Britt Baker ever since All In. Like, there's been no mention of Britt at all. It shows you what she did was really bad, and now the company is even blacklisting her. Jamie Hayter had a few squash matches. She had one against one of the Renegade Twins. And I get it, they need to build her back up. The only thing that I'm disappointed in is that they're not going to be doing Jamie Hayter versus Saraya at All Out. Maybe they are, but they're probably going to put it on the 0 hour. And we all know that's not going to sit well with fans, being on the pre-show. Kyle Fletcher, man, he's such a star. The guy from Aussie Open. He's such a star, and I feel like they need to really utilize him so much better. He battled Kishke Okada. Sorry if I butchered his name, that's why I just say Okada. In a Continental Classic match with a 20-minute time limit. I can't say I'm a fan of the time limit. But then again, WWE has a whole concept and a title that's based around time limit called Speed. So, I'm not a fan of that. So, there you go. but Okada was able to retain the title against Kyle Fletcher. I really wish Mark Davis would get back and recover from his injury, because I really want to see Aussie Open get a run with the AEW World Tag Team titles. MJF and a guy named Daniel Garcia had a segment. I watched this and I was intrigued because it's MJF. It was a good little segment. MJF stood tall by cracking a glass over his head. And I feel like MJF is starting to put over some of these younger talent, which, some people may think is not good for the star power of MJF, but I also feel, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with him putting over some younger talent. Jon Moxley seems to be starting this new faction. He's got Roderick Strong's wife, Marina Shafir, with him, and he seems to want to talk to Darby Allin. So, I don't know what that's all about. Seems to be setting up a feud between them, I guess. So, I'm very confused on what this Jon Moxley stuff is leading down the path of. Mariah May also defended her title against Nyla Rose, and Mariah May kind of got busted open again during her match with Nyla Rose. She had like a bit of a red mark on her head. Maybe Nyla Rose hit her so hard that she kind of got busted up. But in the end, Mariah May was able to retain with Toni Storm's Storm Zero. Look, I didn't like Mariah May cosplaying as Toni Storm, but I don't really like her using Toni's finisher. I mean, I get it. She's not going to lift Nyla Rose on her shoulders and do the Mayday, because it's not going to look good. But if that's the case, then maybe you should give her a backup finisher other than Toni Storm's move. Unless they're just having her still use it as a shot at Toni Storm to show that their rivalry is far from done. But other than that, that's really all I can really give on AEW. So that's really all I'm going to be talking about here on this All Wrestling review. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I'll be back with another All Wrestling review going over AEW's All Out event, anything on SmackDown that may be interesting, if there's anything on Rampage that's interesting, and or anything else going forward. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hit that thumbs up, and I will see you all in the next All Wrestling review.